This episode is sponsored by Mint Mobile, and we have an especially exciting announcement. We want to hear your scorching hot reality TV takes, and that's why we've partnered with Mint Mobile to open a hot take hotline where you can leave us a voice message and give us your reality TV takes. Give us your hot takes, thoughts, and theories, and we'll read and react to the best ones on an upcoming episode of Reality Recap. All you have to do is call 1-855-MINT-TLK, or if you prefer the numbers, that's 855-646-8855. And leave us a voicemail. Again, just call 1-855-MINT-TLK or 855-646-8855 and leave us a message. Make the switch to Mint Mobile. Get 3 months of unlimited premium wireless service for $15 a month at mintmobile.com/VIALL. That's mintmobile.com/VIALL. Upfront payment of $45 required, equivalent to $15 a month. Limited time new customer offer for first 3 months only. Speeds may slow. Above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details.
You're crazy.
How's it going?
Good. I'm Amber. I'm 27, and the guy I'm hooking up with is engaged. What do I do?
Break up. Why are you hooking up with an engaged man?
So it's been a situationship for the last 5 years.
Okay. So is he cheating on his fiance with you?
Yes.
Okay. Explain to me why you think that's okay.
I don't.
Okay.
We have been really good friends
why
for
are
the
you
last
doing
5
it?
years, hooking up, and then he started dating her about 3 years ago,
Uh-huh.
and it just continued throughout that.
Okay. Explain to me how you've been able to justify it on your end.
I mean, obviously, I'm aware that it's like really shitty what I've been doing,
Okay.
and like I'm not going to make excuses for it, but I think where I've been coming from is to me, it hasn't been just a situationship. Like I'm the person on the other end who has had feelings the whole time. And I've just been kind of hoping that maybe someday he would wake up and change his mind and have those feelings back.
So in a way, it's like you knew him first and you felt a connection with him first.
hmm
So there's a part of you that is telling yourself that you're just as entitled to his love and affection as she is.
I don't think it's like an entitlement. I think it was just like I just wanted it because of how I had felt for so long.
Yeah, but
So
we
like,
all want things. But like, what's for example, I'd imagine anytime you walk into a bank, you might want, maybe you see the vault open and you see a stack of money and there's like $100,000 worth of cash there. Right? You might want that, but like, would you steal it if you knew you couldn't get caught?
no.
Okay, so it's not about wanting it, right? I guess what I'm trying to, just like there is a part, and I think it's important for you to understand why you've been able to justify it, because you have justified it, right? Like you can acknowledge it's wrong. I don't know anything about you, but I'm going to go ahead and assume that you're not a horrible person that lacks empathy. I think you're doing a shitty thing to someone who you really don't know. And there's a disconnect between you and this other person. But you have been able to justify it, because the flip side is you like knowing it's shitty, you don't give a fuck. And you're like, you don't even feel the need to justify it because you just don't care. That would make you kind of a shitty person. I'm guessing you're not. So you have had to justify it, because without justifying it, then you just don't give a fuck. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's important you acknowledge that you've had to justify it and that you have justified it, and figuring out how you've justified it, just to make yourself aware of it. Because again, we justify things all the time and we convince ourselves of things that maybe deep down we know aren't right. The good people who do bad things, which all the time, every day, it's not because they're evil. It's because they're able to justify it. They're able to say things like, well, I know it's wrong, but. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I guess, yeah. So we never would really talk about the relationship. So like, even though it existed, like the times that we were together, it wasn't being spoken about. So it was kind of just like the elephant in the room. And then he also had me blocked from his Snapchat story. So I wasn't really seeing his like everyday life in that sense with her. And then the reason I found out they were engaged is he actually blocked me on Facebook because he didn't want me to see that the engagement had happened.
Okay. What are you hoping to get out of this call?
So when I first wrote in, it was, I think, within like an hour of finding out because I was just mad, sad, like all the things. And I think now that it's been about a month and I've processed it, it's more or less like, what can I take from this to like be a better person after, but also like making sure that like I forgive myself for it, I guess. Like I have a lot of regret now and kind of feel like I almost don't deserve like a happy ending after this moving forward.
Um, okay, that's fair. Um, well, I think step one is just, again, just owning it. Acknowledge that you've done a shitty thing. It sounds like you're done with this guy. Is that accurate? Or like, are
Yes.
you are?
Mhm.
Okay. And is that because right now he's not communicating with you because now he's engaged and he has cut you off? Or have you decided that you're done with this person?
So I've decided I'm done. He hasn't cut me off. There was a little bit of communication right after I found out. And then I did block him on Snapchat just because that's where a lot of the conversations regarding like the hookups and stuff were happening. So I wanted to take away that from myself because I didn't want to fall back into that. So there was a little bit of communication like over text afterwards, but I made it clear to him that like if and when an engagement came, like that's when like this needed to end and I needed to be done with it, which I mean doesn't make up for the last 3 years, but that was the first time I was ever really able to set a boundary with him. And so then when he went and like blocked me on Facebook and I found out anyways, that's where like a lot of the hurt came from because I was finally able to like stand up and set the boundary with him.
Okay. I mean, all you can do is just try to move forward with it. I don't think there's much good in telling this person. I don't know if that's even something you were considering.
No, it wasn't.
Okay. I don't think you'd be trying to help her. I think you'd be trying to hurt her. So I'm glad that you're not considering that. Yeah, I mean, listen, like you've done a bad thing. You just gotta try not to do it again. As far as like thinking you don't deserve it or yada yada or like karma's gonna. I mean, I definitely kind of believe in karma to a certain degree. That being said, I don't think you need to operate and live in fear. If anything, if something like this happens to you in the future, I don't think it's gonna do you much good to be like, oh, I had this coming. I don't think that's why it happened. Fast forward 3 years, you're in a relationship and your heart is broken and you feel really wronged. Yeah, I don't think there's much good in it. I had it coming. I think maybe it will help you maybe feel less sorry for your. That's what how I would approach it. For you, as you sit here now, what I think it's really important. I think you got to recognize, like, you chose to do some extreme shit, right? Like outside of the fact that he was dating someone else the whole time, and you knew that in the back of your mind. I certainly can offer you a little grace because, like, it's not, he's the main culprit here. It's really his fault. You certainly didn't help. You did a bad thing for sure. But as far as like you allowing this to go on for 5 years, clearly getting very little from this man, at times being okay, whether you said you were okay with it or not, your actions said that you were okay with him blocking you on Snapchat and keeping you a secret. And you were willing to take crumbs from this man for 5 years. And that's the part, if I were you, I would really try to focus on. And quite honestly, your willingness to accept so little for yourself is ultimately what caused you, in my mind, very unexpert opinion, to do this terrible thing. Honestly, you got to raise your standards for yourself. You got to hold yourself to a higher standard. If I were you, would spend the next 6 to 12 months. How old are you again?
I'm 27.
Okay, you're still pretty young. I would really focus on self-improvement. So much of your energy, no doubt, has been focused on getting this man to change his mind about you. You have wasted a lot of your energy where you could have been investing yourself, investing your career, investing in your health, investing in other friends, certainly people, other dates, and you have invested in this guy, right? And if I were you, I would spend a lot more time investing in you, in the things that make you happy, your health. I would take pride in what you do because you got to have more confidence in what you bring to the table. Otherwise, you're going to keep expecting so little of yourself. You thought so little of yourself that you accepted crumbs from this man. You had no standards, not even to do the right thing. So to me, it comes from a place of a lack of love for yourself or a lack of self-confidence, knowing what you deserved. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Is it resonating? And so instead of feeling sorry for yourself or living in fear that you have karma's going to visit your front doorstep at some point because of this shitty thing to do and you didn't deserve it, if anything, get mad at yourself for a period of time and stop treating yourself so shitty. Like you have been, and I don't think and I think it's a fine line given what you did. I'm not suggesting you play the victim card here and pity yourself. It's more the get your shit together, stop feeling sorry for yourself, stop being the victim, and start treating yourself with the respect you deserve. What ways have you been neglecting yourself? I'm guessing there's probably a lot of different ways you've been neglecting yourself. I would address those things and I would get busy investing in whatever it is you think you should invest in. Are you in any type of therapy?
Not currently, no.
Okay. Therapy's not a cure-all for anything, but I think the right therapist, and I would be, take your time making sure you land on the right therapist. But the right therapist, I think, can help you navigate some of these self-limiting beliefs you've clearly had in your life. What are some low-hanging fruit things that you think you could invest in yourself better?
I think my self-confidence is pretty much non-existent, so, like, that could definitely use a ton of improvement, and then I think, like, my own perception of my self-worth has taken quite a toll during this all,
What have you
obviously.
done to like be your best self? Like what self-improving things have you done? Whether it's like education, even getting good at a hobby, self-care. What are some things that you've done to take pride in what you do?
I have my degree already, and then I'm currently back in school right now, and
Okay.
I have about a year and a half left of that until I'm done with my next degree, so
Okay.
that's something to look forward to, but otherwise, like,
Are
other
you
than
proud of
school.
it? I mean, do you work hard?
Yeah, no, I work full-time as well as, going to school full-time, and then, I still, make time for, like, my friends, and then I live across the country from my family.
Do you acknowledge the hard work you put into having a full-time job and then advancing your education so you can advance your career?
Not as much as I should,
Yeah. I mean,
just because it was always kind of like an expectation to do it, so it's kind
well, a
of
lot of
like.
people don't do it though,
Yeah.
like you
Mhm.
should still take pride in your work, take pride in exceptionalism and people going out of their way to be their best selves is so hard to find and so rare that if you are putting in work and you are grinding in any aspect of your life, you should feel a sense of pride about that and feel good about that. And then try to apply it to other aspects of your life. What are some things that you could be doing that you're not doing in terms of taking better care of yourself?
I think just prioritizing myself, like, whether it's, like, the small things or, like you mentioned, like, trying to get back into therapy and just kind of getting to, like, the root of some of these things, but I feel like I've just kind of let this situation consume me the last 5 years, that I've just really put myself on the back burner in pretty much every possible way. So now it's like, I feel like I'm so behind compared to,
I mean, that's
like,
all
friends and
relative.
family and stuff.
That's really all in your head. You're only 27. You're in no different position than, say, someone who got married at 22 and then is now getting divorced. And as shitty as this situation has been for you, that's a lot easier than getting divorced. Or he could have you could have got what you wanted from him, and it could have been a really pretty shitty relationship that would have been hard to get out. You know what I'm saying? So like,
Mhm.
what happened happened. And so you should only, as it relates to the past, you should only be focused on how you can learn from that experience to improve your life going forward. Acknowledge the mistakes you've made, both in terms of how you've treated yourself so poorly and how your, let's just call it what it is, weakness caused you to do something shitty to another person. Hopefully she doesn't know about it, so you haven't hurt her, but you did a shitty thing. And at the risk of potentially devastatingly hurting someone else, you were too weak to do the right thing. So you should focus on why that is, so that you can learn from it, not to beat yourself up or make yourself feel bad or pity yourself, but to recognize that so that you are no longer a liability for hurting others for your own selfish needs. Use this as motivation, like use this as a thank God I'm only 27. Thank God, as shitty as it was, I didn't waste any more time and it could have been worse. Right. You know, Like, there's no point in spending your emotionally energy being like, oh, well, I'll never get those 5 years back. And then I'm so behind. You're not behind. You're only 27, you know? And you could have been in a relationship that, even if it wasn't like horrible, it could have still taken a ton of your time and energy and then it could have ended, and we all, when we have a relationship that's ends, that we thought that wouldn't end, everyone struggles with a little bit of starting over, and that's scary for sure. Don't make a difficult situation even worse, by self-pity or making yourself out to be a victim of this guy. You made choices. You knew he had a girlfriend. You knew there was another woman. And you know that from day one, 5 years ago, you had every reason and opportunity to end it, and you chose not to. And so he is in charge of his own life and his decisions and whatever accountability he wants to hold himself to. He is not your problem, especially not anymore. You are your responsibility. He is his responsibility. So I wouldn't waste any energy on what he's doing or what he did to you. You got to have some positive thoughts, which is like, thank God I'm out of that. It's time to get to work. It's time to start making different choices. So, yeah. Is this helpful at all? I don't know.
Yeah, it's nice because obviously my friends are biased since they're, like, my friends, so it was not really much tough love. It was like, "Oh, like, you made a mistake, feel your feelings, whatever," but, like, it's nice to kind of get that, like, reminder and push that, like, it's time to leave it in the past and, like, just really focus on myself and,
Yeah.
like, improve from it, I guess.
I think it's okay to call yourself out and recognize your mistakes.
Yeah.
You were weak,
Mhm.
and you're not a weak person, but you demonstrated weakness, and you have an opportunity to change that. You clearly have it in you to be a strong person. You just have to find that strength and apply it to other aspects of your life. And in areas in which you feel insecure or you have less confidence, figure it the fuck out. Start working on your weaknesses. Very few things we can't change, and very few people are willing to do whatever it takes to make improvements in their life. So if you are willing to do that, you have such an advantage over most people. And if you're willing to not make excuses for your choices so that you don't feel bad for choices you've made and reasons why things haven't worked out the way you wanted to, and you go a little bit deeper than just saying, well, everything happens for a reason, and I'm just going to sit on my ass and wait for the universe to tell me it's my time. If you're willing to actually like make the most of whatever it is you have, then you will be better off. You just will. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Is this in any way motivating? I'm trying to motivate you.
Yeah, no, it has been.
Have you blocked him? I mean, is he capable of connecting with you if you really wanted to?
I have not blocked his phone number,
Okay,
so
why not?
if he wanted to, he could reach out that way.
Why not?
Um, as stupid as it sounds, I am in his fantasy football league. So,
Why do you need to be in
and
his
he's
fantasy football league?
I was already signed up and paid for before
I
this
don't
had
care.
happened.
I don't care. Listen, that's weakness. That's an excuse. You got to stop making excuses for your poor choices in life. Again, there will always be reasons, and the world is full of opportunities to make excuses for your shitty and poor choices. And you hanging out and being in his fantasy league because what? You spent a couple $100, 50. How much was it to be in
It
this
was
league?
$100.
$100. For $100, you were selling yourself out at the risk of staying in his world so that he can emotionally fuck with you from time to time. Even if it's just the week that you're playing him, or like you're still connected to him and you are selling yourself out over $100. So quit the league, block his number. And like, if you really are serious about moving forward, you got to start taking those steps. You got to start taking yourself seriously. You know what I'm saying? Like that, you got to
Yeah.
take yourself seriously. And it starts with those types of choices. Instead of seeing it as a wasted money on a fantasy football league you don't get to play in, not that you only joined it to be closer to him anyways. And you got to stop yourself and catch yourself and call yourself out. What are other things that you're making excuses for that are stopping you from really moving on?
I think it's hard because, like, we were friends for quite a while before this happened, and, like, the first 2 years that we were doing this, like, he was single, so I feel like I'm still just kind of, like, holding on to, like, the past and, like, the very beginning, and then just, like, I don't know, like,
I
the
mean,
little things we
you were in
bonded
your
over.
early 20s then. That's a whole different that's a lifetime ago.
Yeah. There's I don't know, I feel like there's other, like, common interests we shared, so I like, even though, like, anyone I could talk to about it, it's, like, something about, like, the reminiscing almost of when, like.
Sure. Listen, you're gonna feel like you broke up with someone. So there's an emotional like healing that you're gonna have to do. And it's obviously very complicated for you because you're also processing this thing that you did that you know is wrong. So yeah, give yourself a little bit of grace. This is gonna take some time for you to heal. But in the meantime, you gotta hold yourself to a higher standard. And until you do, things aren't gonna get better for you.
Yeah.
And just want more for yourself. He's just some guy, and again, like, I understand you had some things in common, you enjoyed his company, and you've spent way too much energy and time, focusing on those things. You haven't spent enough of time that this man has been lying to this person for 5 years. He's been lying to you. He is a liar. He is not a good person, you know? I'm sure he has his excuses, and maybe he will also make some changes in his life. But as far as you're concerned, he shouldn't be the type of person you want to be so emotionally bent up over. And you got to start seeing him in that light.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So you gotta let it go. You gotta let him go and be honest with yourself about what he represents and who he is and how he's treated you. Hold yourself to a higher standard. Stop making excuses for weak moments in your life and poor choices. Stop making excuses about why you can't move on. And then give yourself the credit that you do deserve. So when you do make difficult choices and when you do put in the work, and then try to, compound that. What are you thinking?
Sorry, it's just I haven't talked about it this in depth in a long time, so it's just I don't know. It's a good wake up call, but it's a lot. But no, I agree, and it's hard because it's like I do want better for myself, and I do want to cut him out, but it's like the second like a opportunity comes up to like talk to him, it's like I still just want to take it, and it's hard to like let it just stay in the past, even though like I know it needs to, and like I know I deserve better, and it's not someone who I want in my life, but for whatever reason it is, it's just so hard to give it up.
You do need to think you deserve more than this.
Yeah.
In the past 5 years, how good has this person made you feel consistently? And I'm not talking about moments of like getting what you wanted for brief moments, but I feel like he's caused you a way more emotional stress than happiness.
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely, like, some moments, that stick out, but like you said, it wasn't consistent, it was just kind of like a highlight reel over the last 5 years, and it's not like it was happening all the time.
And I'm guessing rarely happening.
Yeah,
And I'm guessing there are probably more moments where he made you feel shitty feelings.
definitely.
That's the stuff that I think you need to focus on when you're having a hard time letting him go. So let's block his number, then delete his number, and then I would just not run your team. Let it go. No, never. I would say you can make a silly trade with someone. Screw up the whole
Trade my
league.
team away.
I would just leave it. I wouldn't set your roster. I would just leave it. I would not logging in again. I would. If
Okay.
is that the only league that you're on in terms of whatever app you guys are running your?
I'm in another league. The other one's, like, more for fun, where this one was more,
Is it
like,
the
higher
same
stakes serious,
app that
but
you guys are using?
yeah, it's the same app.
I'm guessing there's a way for you to quit one of the leagues somehow,
Yeah.
or just have the discipline to not look at it because that's how he keeps you around, those little silly things, and you got to stop wondering if he's wondering about you. Like again, like he's been using you, and you don't want him to wonder about you. He doesn't care about you in the way that you want him to. And I'm not saying that to hurt your feelings, but you haven't cared enough about yourself and you haven't held yourself to a standard that would make him see you in the way you want him to see you. But you're still only 27. You got a lot of opportunity to right whatever wrongs that you've made. but I would not focus on self-pity. I would focus on self-improvement.
Okay.
So, all right.
Okay.
You're going to be okay. No more self-pity. Hold yourself to a higher standard and block them.
I will.
All right. Well, I'd love an update from you in about a month.
Okay.
And I hope that you feel a little bit better about the situation. I hope that you update us with some things that you've been doing to work on yourself. And I hope that if he does reach out, that you don't take the bait. I imagine if he does reach out, I hope you block him to the point where it's very difficult. But if he finds a way through, he's going to gaslight you. He's going to try to make you feel bad, like you did something wrong. And it's going to he's going to make it sound like you owe him some kind of apology. Just don't take the bait. Even if he knocks on your door and says he's thinking about you, and even if he's thinking about leaving his fiance, like, this is not your guy.
No.
There's no world where I don't think there's anything he should be able to do to win you back or to get you to want to invest more in this person. I think you would be giving up on yourself if you said yes to him.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, things will get better. You're going through a rough
Yeah.
patch right now. Start holding yourself to a higher standard.
All right. Well, thank you. I really appreciate it.
All right. Take care.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Shorter days don't have to seem so dismal. It's time to reach out and check in with those you care about and to remind ourselves that we are not alone. Listen, when it comes to the days getting shorter and the temperatures cooling off, sometimes, it gets a little dark, gets a little gloomy. We stay inside a little bit more often than we otherwise do. We're not connecting with friends and family. And sometimes we get a little seasonal depression. That is a thing. It's a real thing. And what better way to try to deal with that than with therapy? And if you have ever considered therapy, but maybe been putting off for a variety of reasons, BetterHelp is a great way to start getting back into taking care of your mental health. What I love about BetterHelp, I've talked about this so many times, is that it really breaks down all those main barriers that stop people from prioritizing their mental health, like the convenience and making sure you find a good therapist that you can connect with. It's more affordable than in-person therapy. It's certainly incredibly convenient. All you need is a tablet or a phone, a device of some kind, and it really works with your comfort levels. And because they're working with over 30,000 therapists, it helps ensure that you can find a therapist that's right for you. You can keep switching therapists every time for free until you land on a therapist that you feel great about. So this holiday season, maybe the holidays bring you down. Maybe you have some concerns or worries about your job or finances or your relationship. Whatever the problem is, let BetterHelp get it off your chest with prioritizing your mental health through BetterHelp. This November, BetterHelp is encouraging everyone to reach out and check on friends, connect with loved ones, and remind the people in your life that you're there. I'm always checking in with my friends, especially friends who live out of state, and just catching up with them. And it always feels good to reconnect with the people that are important in your life. Again, with over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is one of the world's largest online therapy platforms, having served over 5 million people globally. And it works with an average rating of 4.9 out of 5 and over 1.7 million client reviews. This month, don't wait to reach out. Whether you're checking in on a friend or reaching out to a therapist yourself, BetterHelp makes it easier to take that first step. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/VIALL. That is BetterHelp, HELP.com/VIALL. You've heard me talk about caraway pots and pans and bakeware because I love them. I cook on them multiple times a week. Whether I'm at the lake or I'm at home, I'm always cooking on caraway. It's also one of my go-to housewarming gifts or wedding gifts for all of my friends. They're always asking me what I'm cooking on when I have people over for dinner and I'm making them dinner. They all become caraway customers for life. And the best part is not only do they look great, easy to clean, and great to cook on, but they're safe for your family. It's crazy how many cookware materials out there are not safe for your family and have things like PTFEs and other toxic chemicals that get released into the air and in your body when you're cooking on them. Over 70% of cooking and baking pans sold in America are coated with PTFEs. Be the ones who are cooking on safe pots and pans for your family, and you can do that with Caraway. They also have great utensils that you can use for any task in the kitchen. They have great butcher blocks for cutting boards, so you're avoiding all those microplastics. Everything that Caraway does looks great, great to use, made with high quality, and most importantly, safe for your family. So if you are looking to upgrade your cookware, anything in the kitchen, you got to check out Caraway. Not only will you love cooking on it, but most importantly, you can feel good about what you're cooking with and cooking on. Caraway's cookware set is a favorite for a reason. It can save you up to $190 versus buying them individually. Plus, if you visit carawayhome.com/VIALL10, you can take an additional 10% off your next purchase. This deal is exclusive for our listeners, so visit carawayhome.com/VIALL10 or use code VIALL10 at checkout. Caraway, non-toxic cookware made modern. How's it going?
Hi, I'm Lexi. I'm 26 years old and my mom is getting married at the same time as me. And I'm just wondering how you would suggest setting boundaries for that situation.
When you say the same time, like on the same day, like same weekend, same season?
Not the same day, but she hasn't set a date yet. And I'm getting married in a couple months, and we're suspecting she's getting married a couple weeks before I'm going to be getting married.
Why do you feel like you need to set boundaries around this?
There's been a couple instances, like when I picked up my wedding dress, we started dress shopping for her at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we were like going through the music for walking down the aisle and stuff, she started pulling up songs that she wanted to walk down the aisle. And at first I didn't have an issue with it, but then as it's continued happening, it's just felt really weird and bizarre. And I really don't want to step on her toes because I want it to be special for her, but also it just feels really weird to me, and it's beginning to bug me a little bit more the more it happens.
Okay. What is your relationship with your mom in general? And then follow-up question to that, what is your relationship with her fiance?
I've always been super close to my mom, but we have our little bickers every now and then.
Sure.
And then in regards to her fiance, it's been hit or miss. At first, me and my siblings weren't like the hugest fans, but he's grown on us, and we are supportive of them getting married. And I don't want her to think that we're not. It's just weird with the timing and everything.
Okay. Well, what do you think? I mean, this is definitely like a you problem. And it sounds like you're acknowledging it, that it just bothers you. And it sounds like I'm hearing you recognize that you're not even 100% sure if it should bother you, but you're just acknowledging that it does and trying to figure out what you should do about that feeling?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I brought it up to her, and
how did you bring it up to her?
So we actually were like trying on wedding dresses at the same time because I was trying mine on and we were figuring out stuff. And I brought it up to her that I just felt like it was kind of weird. And she ended up having a meltdown about the fact that we weren't happy for her.
Right. And you use the word weird?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Try not to use that word with people you're trying to have sensitive conversations with about their actions that, I don't know, bother you somehow, right? Unless it really is weird, and not weird like you feel weird about it, but weird is such a judgmental word. And when you're using that to describe how you're feeling about someone else's actions, it's going to really be upsetting to them. I mean, imagine planning your wedding and one of your friends or your mom or someone whose opinion mattered to you, right, came up to you and said like, that's just like weird that you're doing that.
Yeah.
You know, you would feel like, well, first of all, you feel very judged. Like, what, weird? I'm weird? You know what I'm saying? Like, so try to remove that from your vocabulary if you're trying to have a conversation with someone where you're trying to find some kind of common ground.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
So I'd definitely start there. So not surprising that your mom had a visceral reaction and felt like you didn't support her in that moment, right?
Yeah.
From your point of view, I can see why it feels a little weird, right? I'm sure you've imagined getting married. This is your first time getting married, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're certainly hoping this is the last time. This is your moment. So you're approaching this wedding as this is the one time I'm getting married. And you definitely did not imagine going dress shopping with your mom for both of your dresses. You imagined your mom would be there fully in support of your day, of your moment, of this experience that's yours. And so in that regard, it's weird to you. So I get it. But like, again, without using that word or using that language, I feel like you could have just gone to mom and said, hey, mom, like, first of all, before I say anything, really excited for you. Like, I'm really happy you have found love again. And, we love Chuck. He treats you well. I'm really happy for you. Excited to celebrate your wedding. If it's okay with you, and I really hope it is, can we separate planning for your wedding and planning for my wedding? If you want to go dress shopping, let me know. I'm showing up for you. I'll be there for you. Let me know. But like, can this also just be my experience for my wedding? And can we separate it?
Yeah.
I don't want to take anything from your wedding, but maybe I'm being selfish, Mom, but I don't want to share this experience with anyone, even you. I want you to have your own experience, and again, she might still have a problem with it. I don't know. I don't know your mom, but I feel like you're then, you know what I'm saying? Like the way positioning that is, first, you lead with what you want her to have and you reaffirm your support and you validate her because already, I don't know. I imagine most parents who get remarried and who have young children or who have children are worried about a sense of judgment and acceptance from their kids about them moving on or remarrying and yada, yada, yada. So make sure when you're having these tough conversations, take a moment and think about how might mom be sensitive to what I'm saying? What might trigger her if I put myself in her shoes, yada, yada, yada. And I feel like that would go a long way because I don't think, listen, am I right? Like you don't want to share in this moment.
Yeah. I feel like too, there's just been a lot of moments that have been shared. So she got engaged like 2 years ago, the same day my dad got married.
Okay.
And so that added a layer where the engagement just started off on the wrong foot, I feel like. And then my sister is also going to be getting engaged and married anytime now. And so all of it together, and then us on top of that, not knowing when the wedding's going to be. And like the wedding could be 2 weeks before mine.
Why don't you know? And
they're waiting for some legal paperwork to get figured out first, but they have made it well known that the second that that's figured out, they want to go ahead and just do it.
And they still expect everyone to be there?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's, again, like that's a logistical conversation, it sounds like. So just a couple things from what I'm hearing, right? I wouldn't be shocked if I were to have a chance to talk with your mom that she feels like she has to work around everyone else's moment. The way you're talking about your mom getting engaged and getting married, it sounds almost like, she had her time.
Yeah.
And as if like, it's like you're happy for her, but she has less of a, I don't know, we all have people in our family who have a way of making things about them.
Yeah.
And is that how your mom is? Does your mom have a way of, whether it seems on purpose or not on purpose, that she's always, every time someone else is having a moment, your mom coincidentally somehow is also trying to have her own moment?
I feel bad saying it, but yeah, kind of.
Okay. Well, that might be true, but this is definitely a do you want to be right, do you want to be happy situation where like, what is it really costing you?
Yeah.
Because like that, if your mom is like that, clearly it's coming from some kind of place of not feeling like she's ever gotten whatever validation she feel like she has. And I don't know, maybe your mom's a raging narcissist. I don't know. But chances are maybe she can be a little self-centered at bad times, and it probably comes from some fucking childhood trauma or whatever. But I guess as far as you, like, what is it costing you
Yeah, that's
to
true.
like give your mom the benefit of the doubt? As far as her wedding and wedding planning, if your mom wants to like do a shotgun wedding, elope, and immediately get married as soon as she legally can, well, that is her prerogative.
Mhm.
If she wants her family to share in her celebration of her wedding, I'm not saying when you plan a wedding, you have to check in with everyone you want there, but there's a reason why people send out wedding invitations months in advance, because they want to give the people who they want at their wedding time to, get their affairs in order and depending on what flexibility they don't have in their lives, it gives people time to like make plans. So you just, you could say, Mom, also, as far as when you're going to have this wedding, like, we want to be there and celebrate with you, but like, we need a heads up here. And like, yes, again, I'm not expecting you get married when you want, but like, our wedding date is set. I want to be there to celebrate with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, how many siblings do you have?
4.
Have you or any of the kids gone out of your way to tell your mom, we really want to be there for you?
No.
I couldn't help but wonder if all the kids said that your mom would probably be willing to schedule her wedding around you guys if you made it clear that you wanted to be there.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But yeah, I mean, so it just sounds like, I don't know, sometimes people irritate me all the time, including family members. And sometimes I think we can have family members who just have a way about irritating us. And sometimes we have a knack of kind of seeing some of their flaws rather than offering them a little empathy and grace. And there's a little edge that you have towards your mom.
Yeah.
And again, maybe she's done some things to deserve that edge, but if it doesn't cost you much to give your mom some validation that she clearly needs other than like the principle of it, and it just might make your life a hell of a lot easier.
Yeah. No, I get where you're coming from, and I agree. Yeah.
So step 1, I mean, you could probably wrap this all into one conversation with your mom.
Yeah, totally.
Hey, Mom, I want to talk about our weddings. 1, like, when do you plan on getting married? Because like, we all want to be there and we want to be able to celebrate with you, but like, we all have busy lives. I got a wedding coming up. Like, I'm not expecting you to work around our schedules, but like, we just need to know so we can try to make plans, because we all want to be there and support you, and we're really happy for you, and yada, yada, yada. And like, I think that would go a long way. I bet your mom would really appreciate that too. Mom, can we talk about my wedding? And like, first of all, you need to apologize for calling her weird, because that's how she heard it. And you got to be like, that's a really poor choice of words. It's not weird. I'm maybe I'm being a little selfish, but I really want my wedding experience to be about me. And I want your second wedding to feel about you. So can we just separate the two going forward, and let me know how I can show up for you, Mom, because I want to do that. And can you still keep showing up for me? But can we do it separately? I don't want to have like a joint wedding thing,
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah. I think I'll have that conversation with her.
Great.
That's really good.
All right.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that.
No problem. Glad I could help. Anything else I can help out with, or are you rocking and rolling?
I think I'm ready to rock and roll.
All right. Well, let me know what, Mom, if this works.
Yeah, I will.
I feel like it will.
I'll keep you updated.
All right. Well, thanks for the call.
Yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate it.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
At this point, everyone knows, or maybe you don't know, I don't know, that I am a certified surgical technologist. It is something that I hold near and dear to my heart. It is a time in my life that I truly love so much. And what makes it better is that every single morning I could wake up and put on a pair of FIGS scrubs. They are incredibly soft, form-fitting, durable, and come in really fashionable styles. And it's always a flex to show how many shades of FIGS that you have. They even have outerwear shoes and layers that, to be honest, makes it so much easier getting dressed in the morning, knowing exactly what you're going to put on. They also have pockets on pockets, enough to store your keys, phone, stethoscope, and more, so you're hands-free. They have an option for 2 pockets at the waist, 1 pocket on the chest. Whatever you need, whatever you're looking for, FIGS has it. Whatever color, whatever style, if you're tall, if you're short, if you like a jogger, if you like a flare, whatever you want, Figs has it. And I cannot tell you how good you will feel in the morning when you wake up and put them on. So if you work in healthcare or love someone who does, Figs are a must-have. Hands down, go to wearfigs.com and use code FIGSRX for 15% off your first order. Use code FIGSRX for 15% off your first order at wearfigs.com. Well, before Skims, underwear was always an afterthought for me. I would focus more on what I was wearing on the outside and think that a new dress or a new jacket would make me feel my best. But Skims has made me realize that the bra and panty I put on in the morning is actually what defines whether I'll be feeling amazing in my clothes. If you want to feel like a new woman, it's time to get some Skims underwear. A few of my favorites are the Fits Everybody dipped front thong and the Fits Everybody t-shirt bra are two staples that I am constantly grabbing at because I feel sexy in them and I don't have to like wear lace and underwire and like try to like do all this extra stuff to feel sexy. It's the simplest stuff and it makes me feel put together and sexy. The fabric is insanely stretchy, soft, and supportive. It hugs in all the right places without digging in. And the Fits Everybody t-shirt bra gives me the support I need without feeling bulky or stiff. It made me feel like myself again, comfortable, lifted, and confident. It's truly become one of my everyday essentials. So shop my favorite bras and underwear at skims.com. After you place your order, be sure to let them know we sent you. Select podcast in the survey and be sure to select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. Remodeling homes can be exciting, we should know, but it also means dealing with older systems and appliances, which can be expensive to fix when they break down. That's why you should turn to American Home Shield. They can help protect major systems and appliances, like your HVAC, plumbing, electrical, and refrigerator, no matter their age.
Enjoy peace of mind knowing your budget won't get drained by unexpected covered expenses. Visit ahs.com/viallfiles for 20% off any plan today and see promo details. That's ahs.com/viallfiles for 20% off. See ahs.com/contracts for coverage details, including service fees, limitations, and exclusions. How's it going?
Hey, Nick. This is Emma. How are you doing today?
I'm good.
And my name is Seth.
Hi, Seth. How can I help you guys?
Well, so I have a long time with smoking marijuana, and it's kind of been something that has just been a constant part of our relationship. And only recently have I really come to terms with using the word addiction. And it's really just something that Emma has kind of put up with for a long time and really has finally just put her foot down and kind of made the ultimatum that it's either that or her.
Okay.
And that's kind of where we're at this point.
Okay. Curious. Interesting. Emma, I'm curious, like, why are we at the point where you feel like we're at the ultimatum point?
I would say that it's because we've been together for 13 years, and this has really been an issue since day one. And in those 13 years, I think we've seen an advent in marijuana use and the forms that it comes in. I mean, it used to just be like kind of smoking it, but then, the different devices came along and the vapes and all of that. And it started to feel like a third member of our relationship. And what I would say is that the bigger issue that this kind of falls under is that it seems like a lot of Seth's behavior over the last few years has just become increasingly selfish. And we have a family now, we have a little girl, and it...
Selfish in what way?
So what I would say kind of ballooned over the marijuana issue for some time is that we practice what's called ethical non-monogamy.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband actually contracted HPV and gave it to me by having unprotected sex with another partner. And that has led us down a long road of trying to explore the issues in our relationship and kind of our attitudes toward each other. And within that, marijuana use and, some other financial issues came up because it just felt like between the ethical non-monogamy and the smoking and some spending issues, it seemed like a lot of what Seth's actions were really just kind of focused toward his, immediate wants and desires and not on what was best for our family. Whereas I feel like I'm kind of constantly working and focused on what's best for our family and the three of us and not just myself.
Okay. Was that like a violation of your guys' trust in terms of having the unprotected sex? Was your expectation he was having protected sex and then got this HPV and passed it on to you? Or was that just like it happened and it sucked, but like no one made a mistake? I'm curious.
No, totally. It was me breaking boundaries and me basically thinking like, oh, like this is kind of a choice that I'm making that really is between me and the partner that I'm having sex with, and not really thinking about how this would affect Emma. And like, this happened 2 years ago. I've really had a chance to sort of reflect on the consequences of that and understand that, like, wow, like that was a really selfish choice.
Okay. Were you high on marijuana when it happened?
Uh, Probably, yeah.
Do you feel like it affected your choice? Like, do you feel like you would have made a different choice if you weren't on marijuana?
No. I don't think like it was.
And Emma, you're agreeing with him. It sounds like, for the people listening.
Yeah, I mean, I don't smoke marijuana. I have
Mhm.
kind of my own feelings about that are independent of him and just how it affects my body. So I remember with this particular person, I know that they were a pretty habitual smoker. So I think that was something that they did together with some
Gotcha.
regularity.
Okay.
I also think it was a bit of an issue of this person was also not being particularly responsible with their sexual health. And so it was just like, oh, like you are not only making choices for your safety, but like you really have to think about your partner's safety. And to expand on that, like I think that's how things kind of have evolved for like our finances and my marijuana use. Sorry if I'm jumping the gun, but like I have not used marijuana for the past like month and a half.
Okay.
So
So
I know that it seems like we have a number of issues, but I think the umbrella kind of question that I would have for you is like, I feel like my husband's behavior is often incredibly selfish, but
uh
I do love our life together, and we've been together for 13 years, and we have a beautiful family, and I want to protect that. And I'm kind of trying to figure out how to put this stuff in the past and be able to move on, because it feels like when we have fights now, this stuff comes up, and I'll hold the HPV against him, or the habitual marijuana smoking and things that have been big issues in the past. And I know that he's making an effort to be better, and I don't want to hold these things against him, but I continue finding myself doing so.
how did you guys do? How did you deal with the initial betrayal?
Oh, extreme anger. I mean, you were actually getting on a plane with our daughter when you
Well,
found
I just
out,
mean,
and
but how have you guys worked through it,
well,
if
we're
at
in
all?
We've been
therapy.
in marriage therapy for the past 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah, and
And is it
I think
still?
sometimes you feel like we're not getting a lot out of that. And Nick, I've been such a fan and habitual listener of your show for so many years that I really wanted your perspective on this, because I listened to all the advice episodes, and I just feel like you would have a perspective different than either of ours. And our therapist is wonderful, but I wanted to hear what someone who didn't know us and wasn't a therapist had to say.
Well, I mean, listen. I obviously like. I haven't been talking to you guys for a while, but in this very limited time, I'm just. I guess my big question is why, if you want your husband to quit marijuana, I would assume and hope that it's solely for health benefits for him, like other than the financial aspect of it. Obviously marijuana costs money, and then don't know your guys' financial situation, so certainly that is if you're buying marijuana in lieu of, say, buying something for the family that the family needs, and I guess I get that. But the way you're describing it is if like you are, I can't help but wonder if your husband hurt you. There's a point of contention here. You're upset. I don't know. I'd love to hear more why you've always like you mentioned addict. Certainly, I think marijuana can be an addictive drug, but like a lot of people, it's like, hey, it helps me with anxiety, and of all the things that like I do to unwind, I'd rather have a little a gummy than a get drunk type of thing. And to each their own, so to speak. Everything in moderation, but is there a part of
Yeah.
you that is taking away his marijuana usage as a point of like retaliation because you just want to see if he's willing to do that for you?
Yeah, that's a great point, and that's definitely something that we've talked about. And here's my issue with the marijuana is, personally, I've just never enjoyed it. I don't enjoy the smell. I've never kind of really enjoyed
Yeah.
any of the culture around it. I do know that it has a lot of benefits for a lot of people. Completely understand that. And for a long time, it felt like it was not this big player in our relationship. It was there, and I didn't love it, and we certainly had our fights about it earlier on. But I would say in the last 5 years, since the pandemic happened, since our daughter was born, it just felt like it was always there. It was like this presence that was always in our life. I mean, for years, I would be the one who would put our daughter down for bed, and then he would go to the basement and smoke, or go to the dispensary and buy what he wanted. Or when it really became an issue recently, and when I kind of really gave him like the ultimatum, which I really didn't want to do, was when he told me that he was going to go to the grocery store, after we had been somewhere together, and I called him and asked where he was. And, he was further away than he should have been at that point. And it came out that he was, lying to me about going to the store, and he was really going to the dispensary. And I think that it changes his personality. I think that I love my husband's personality, and I think that he is
how much in what way? Like he gets a little zoned out and goofy, or
zoned out. I think you get a little bit more agitated. Like, we're more likely to fight when you're high. Your temper gets a little, you become more testy.
I mean, like for me, I think it was not something I was consuming in moderation. It was kind of like I was consuming it whenever I could, or whenever there was an opportune moment. And I wasn't even like actually getting high anymore. And I kind of had this conversation with someone a week or so ago. It's like I was using marijuana as though I was like a rock star. Like I was just like smoking all day, every day, as though I had just like unlimited funds to be able to just do it whenever, wherever.
Yeah.
Well, and this also meant like it was interrupting our lives also, because it would be like he was going to the dispensary all the time. He was smoking at work and affecting his work. Like if we were traveling, when we would travel, he'd be thinking about where he could get it. And it also put a lot of the parenting responsibilities on me, because I feel like for so long I was doing bedtimes by myself, or just like doing the nighttime routine, because somehow we fell into this routine of, our night would end and I would take care of our daughter, and you would go.
And I was like kind of itching to wrap up.
Yeah, you were looking for your chance to be by yourself, or like we'd come home from a party or an event or whatever, and then it would be like he'd immediately go to the basement to start smoking and have his time for himself. And I want him to have his time for himself, but when it's 1:00 on a Wednesday and we're supposed to be working or doing our thing, and he's worried about vaping instead, or where he can get more weed, it just started to feel like a huge interruption in our everyday life.
So what has it been like in the month and a half you haven't smoked?
Oof, it has been honestly like a huge relief. Like it, and like I genuinely like hate people who like have these like born again like sobriety lifestyles. Like that is not who I am. But it really does like have this new clarity to be like, oh, like weed didn't make you relax. Like you can relax on your own. Like weed doesn't make you funny. You're funny on your own. I will say that like I'm terrified of the idea of like letting my guard down and like sharing a joint with someone and then getting right back into where I was. And so it's kind of like, I'm not putting a whole lot of effort into keeping my guard up. Like for whatever reason, thankfully, I really have let go of a lot of the desire to smoke again. But I am kind of cautiously waiting for that desire to creep back up again.
So I guess what can I help out with? Like what are you guys trying to figure out?
So I think, with this kind of selfish behavior, like the smoking, the HPV, like the sex, all of it, it feels like my husband is constantly and I think that you would say this too. He's like constantly seeking like some sort of like high, or like something impulsive, whether it's shopping or sex or getting high or something like that. And for context also, I'm sure that this helps, is, only in the last year or so have we started been talking about this as like an addiction. And I feel like as millennials, we've been kind of wronged, because we've been sold this idea that marijuana isn't addictive. But then when I find my husband, itching for it in the middle of the day when there just nothing else is happening, to me, that seems like a problem. And I do come from a family where addiction plays a big part in the family dynamic, unfortunately. So when I started seeing my husband's behavior kind of mirrored that of my father,
Mhm.
even though it was with a different substance. I was like, oh, we need to do that. And then that added up with, this kind of constant desire to be like dating and doing things in ethical non-monogamy, where he showed me that he can't be responsible. It was just like, wow, I am married to someone and have a child with someone and own a house with someone who is really selfish. And I don't know how to contend with that. But there have been people who have told me, like, get out of this marriage while you can, while you're young, while you could, maybe have a second marriage. But like, I really love my husband.
I don't doubt that, obviously the non-monogamy situation was a violation of trust. It was not cool, obviously, and there were consequences to that. I guess my point, like, yes, Seth sounds like he has demonstrated some selfishness, and that's true. He also seems to have demonstrated, like, you guys are going to couples therapy. He seems contrite, unless he's like a habitual, like, apologizer just for the sake of shutting you up. He also seems like, he hasn't smoked marijuana in a month and a half. He's acknowledged that there's some addictive elements to it. So yeah, it seems a bit extreme for, unless you're leaving some things out here that you're not communicating, it seems extreme that your friends are like, leave this monster and get out while you can.
So I guess maybe knowing that this is going to be kind of on a public forum, I am kind of trying to protect some other things. But I also found out 2 months ago, right before he stopped smoking, that he had racked up a severe amount of credit card debt.
Okay. Well,
so
is that
well over $50,000, and it was a surprise to me. And I think and that was really that felt like rock bottom to me, because I was like, I've stayed with this man.
I'm assuming that's a great deal of money to you.
Yeah. I mean, like, we both have good full-time jobs, but we live in the San Francisco Bay Area, where housing isn't cheap, and daycare is expensive. And
so how have you guys dealt with this? I mean, like, Seth, what's your point of view on this? Do you feel like you are someone who can be trusted?
Yes. I think that's one of the things that we're working through in marriage therapy, is that I think Emma and I have had a lot of sort of what our therapist calls, like, enforcer type, I think I get worried of what her reaction to things are. So I either, like, hide things from her or omit things from her, because I'm worried about her reaction to things.
Sure, but that's still being dishonest, and yeah. I mean, I've always been a bit triggered by how you're communicating that, in a sense that, because I feel like it's a very clever way of, quite honestly, to your wife's point, describing your own selfishness that tries to come across as that you're worried about her feelings, as opposed to, like, yeah, you don't, like, is it like you wanted to do this, you considered how it might affect your wife, but you didn't care enough to have it stop you. And then instead of dealing with the consequences, you just didn't tell her because you knew she'd be upset.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty spot on.
That feels right to me, and in line with what our therapist has said. And it's, my reactions have become heightened, because it just kind of feels like I keep coming, hit after hit. Like, first it was, and like, our marriage wasn't perfect before the HPV, but it seemed, relative to how things are now, it seemed like things were pretty good. But it was first the HPV, and then it's felt like the, marijuana use up, went up even more. And then the spending became a little bit crazy. And it got to the point where I was like, am I being smart for myself and my daughter?
Yeah. I mean, listen, if Emma constantly has to wonder if she can trust you, Seth, it is no fun feeling like you have to play watchdog or cop or detective with your own spouse, knowing, like, for all, like, like, you're not supposed to go through your person's phone. Like, yeah, you're not, and no one, I don't think most people really want to. No one wants to be given reasons why they're not supposed to be able to just take their partner at their word, certainly on a consistent basis. So if your default is to do what you want and then lying about it because, like, you're trying to not upset her, which is ultimately you being like, I don't want to deal with the consequences of doing what I wanted to do in that moment I wanted to do it. That's not sustainable. Like, yeah, it's exhausting, honestly. And I also like, to me, the marijuana feels like the least of your guys' problem. And it kind of comes across as like, well, if it's almost like a test, you know, it's like, is he willing to, there's been several examples of what Seth hasn't been willing to do for Emma.
Yeah. And I think to some degree it, I have treated it like a test, and I hate to say that, but you're not wrong, because it feels like I've become completely out of control of our life and my marriage, because like I'm trying so hard to work.
Well, I guess I would put it this way, and again, everything you're describing about marijuana, I can relate to on some. It obviously has addictive elements. It certainly might be the least addictive compared to, say, like alcohol and cocaine and heroin, but it's still addictive. People have gone to rehab to get over marijuana smoking. So like, I'm certainly not an expert on it. I'm not giving any type of medical advice, to be clear, but it certainly seems to be less addictive. No doubt that it changes Seth's personality. He probably can become more aloof and just, stinky, whatever. But again, from what I'm hearing from you, you guys are married, you have this family, you love your husband, I think you feel the love from him, but there are things Seth is doing that is making you feel objectively unsafe in this relationship. You literally contracted a sexually transmitted disease, certainly something you can live with, but it obviously has its risks. Racking up $50K in debt is a very scary situation unless you guys are, have money to waste. But even then, there's a violation of trust there. And that can certainly put you guys in compromising situations. And it feels like almost for you, Emma, like getting him to quit marijuana has been like this consolation prize to some of the other violations he's done. But I almost feel like it's a false flag of comfort, because, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he clearly has been willing to do it. And your problem isn't what Seth's willing to do. Your problem is when Seth wants to do something, and the moment he wants to do it, he A, doesn't consider your feelings, and B, is willing to omit or lie about it. And so you giving him an ultimatum and something that you can police, to me, isn't really solving the problem. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does make sense. And I didn't like giving that ultimatum, but it felt like this was so many years of just built up issues. And it got to the point where I was like, am I just kind of along for the ride of his life, getting to behave how he wants and kind of throw caution to the wind? And I just outright told him, like, if you want to be a single man and only have responsibility toward your child, I will be okay.
What made you guys get into a non-monogamous relationship in the first place?
We met in college. Emma had a really jealous previous relationship where, he was looking through her phone and, making comments about like, oh, like, why were you talking to so-and-so and such and such? And so, I think we had a lot of like really early conversations about it's natural to be flirtatious and have, we're both pretty outgoing people and social butterflies. And I think we just kind of had one conversation that led to another, and it kind of all snowballed into like, hey, it's cool to have desire or interest or fantasies about other people. And we kind of learned through trial and error how to go about doing that responsibly and ethically. And obviously we've had hits and misses and learning what works and what doesn't.
What really felt like our beginning to me was I was in grad school and a friend kissed me, like, completely out of the blue. And, I was 25 at the time. Like, I knew nothing in my life but monogamy. I felt like I had to tell Seth, because I was like, oh my God, I've cheated and we've been together for 5 years. Like, and I really loved him. I saw a future with him. So I was like, I have to be honest about this event that happened. And I was, I guess, really happily surprised when I told him. And then that turned into kind of a nice, like, evolved conversation rather than, us breaking up or, some sort of worse response from him. Because to that point, I felt like I had done something very wrong.
I'm curious, Seth, for the limited people I know who dabble in this type of lifestyle, what seems to be consistent with him is that what works about it is like there is this, extreme trust, like to what Emma just described. It was, oh my God, this happened. I want to tell him. You told Seth, you didn't get mad, or you worked through it. And like, there was a bond there, and there was like, and it became, for all the couples who participated in this, why it works is because it's less about the sex. You guys these people are able to have this like physical, they're able to fulfill these physical desires and kinks that they have, while simultaneously elevating the trust that they have. Because while most couples aren't comfortable with sharing and this, and things like that, there's this kind of intense level of trust of being open about being physically intimate with other people. So I'm curious with Seth, like, well, one, like, if you are being dishonest about other things, like I feel like the only way that ethical monogamy works, and again, I'm no expert in it, is to have that trust. And yet, why I asked the question is that it kind of suggests that, like, I don't know what your intentions were in the beginning, but like, there's a lot of people who are in these non-monogamous relationships, and the more questions you ask, it's just like, well, one person didn't want to give up having sex with other people, and they convinced their partner, but it really isn't about having this intense trust with each other. It's just about one person getting their way. And so I guess my question to you is like, which one is it more for you? Because in order for making this ethical non-monogamous relationship work, like, if you don't have trust, then how do you guys participate in this lifestyle?
I mean, at least, in this aspect, I think we have a lot of trust and a lot of transparency with one another. And as parents, I think it's taken on a whole new meaning.
Yeah, but how do you cherry pick what you're honest about and what you're not honest about?
I mean, I think that's what we discuss in marriage therapy.
Yeah.
But continuing my thought, as a husband, I want to see my wife feel her very best and be reminded that she is still very desired, and embrace her sexuality and be able to have these really cool experiences where she is exploring her sexuality and being reminded that she is still very desired. And I think that is so important.
But do you realize how that all kind of becomes unimportant, or we can't focus on that when you are making me feel unsafe?
Sure.
Because I don't feel like I can go and safely have those other relationships when my husband, I'm sending you out there hoping that when you're dating and doing your thing, that you are being safe, because that trust was compromised in such a big way.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you wanting me to feel all of those good things, and I want to feel that too, but it's really hard to focus on that when kind of my basic safety and security in my marriage was so compromised.
Yeah.
I mean, also, like, I hear everything you're saying, Seth, but you're getting something out of it too.
Sure. I mean, it's a mutual thing that we participate in.
Yeah, for sure. But I guess what I'm saying is, to Emma's point, it's just like, that's great. You want your wife to feel sexually desired and beautiful and yada, yada, yada. But that's more like two friends supporting each other's kinks rather than a married couple living out a lifestyle. But again, their primary focus is to have a marriage that works. And to have a marriage that works, you have to have trust, and to Emma's point, you have to feel safe. And you can't feel safe in one category of your life and not feel safe in another. If you can't, so it's like, well, I only lie to her about money, so like, she shouldn't be worried about me lying to her about sex. Like, I don't think the human brain works that way. I could be wrong. I'm not a psychologist, but I
No, you're totally valid on that.
Yeah. So I don't know, as a human being, how you compartmentalize your partner's lies. A lie just feels like a lie.
Well, and I think that's how, like, what I initially wanted to kind of bring up as my question to you is, like, I think I made a decision to stay in this marriage. Like, I didn't immediately leave him after kind of these tough events happened. So I'm like, I'm trying to put the effort forward to stay and make this work and be in the best marriage we can. But I feel myself like we get into a fight about the dishes or laundry, and then somehow that snowballs into the HPV or the smoking. And like, I don't want to do that, because I think that, frankly, I'm a very good person I really know how to fight and argue logically and have those conversations, but I get hurt and then I just go back there because I know that that's like the low blow.
It's a painful experience. I mean, like, listen, that is just something you guys are gonna have to work through, like.
And that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're trying.
But more importantly, the past is just something you guys have to work through in terms of like, you both have to give each other some grace. Seth, you have to give Emma some grace that, every once in a while you might trigger her. That makes her go back to that place of those violations of trust. And then she might say something that feels petty and reactive and unproductive and even hurtful on your end. And there's a balance there. The marijuana smoking, again, like, again, outside of like, it sounds like, Seth, you also just appreciate, like maybe you were a little addicted and maybe you're too reliant on it. And there's aspects of you not having smoked for the past 6 weeks. You see some of those benefits. Again, I still think the ultimatum of it is like unproductive as far as the relationship goes, because like, unless you feel like going forward that when Seth wants to do something that he's worried you might not approve of, or he doesn't feel like checking in with you and saying, hey, I want to buy this, or hey, I want to do this with this person, if you have to worry constantly whether he's going to be upfront with you, that's the thing that you guys have to work through. That's the thing you have to figure out. It seems unclear whether you guys have figured that out yet.
Yeah, and I've been practicing that kind of in a way that feels unnatural for me, to be like, hey, like, I want to make this stupid purchase, and I know that that's something you're probably going to tell me no, and I don't like hearing that, but it's something that I just need to get used to hearing.
But yeah, I mean, yeah. Otherwise, you don't want to be married,
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I keep saying to him is, I'm like, if you just want to like spend the money that you make on whatever you want, including marijuana, and if you want to like just only be responsible to our daughter, like, you can do that, but just tell me now when I'm 35 and not when I'm 45 or 55. Right now, I feel like I could go and like really continue my life happily.
Well, to that end, again, like but like you mentioned, again, this ultimatum, right? Where, like, again, if Seth wants to stop smoking marijuana, then definitely, by all means, that'd be great. You, Emma, you have every right to like kind of like be annoyed by him consuming marijuana. That being said, I think it would be a step in the right direction if Seth wanted to smoke marijuana and came to you and said, I'm going to go smoke some weed. And I guess you can say no, but unless you really had a problem, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you guys have to practice the ability for Seth to be able to like ask you something and you say yes, or even sometimes say no. It's not like you're the mom and you have to parent him, but the extremes of like, never do this. So then he starts hiding it and things like that, or you're telling him what to do. And then you have to be able to trust that Seth can like use things in moderation. Like, if you, to your point, Seth, you talked about like, well, I started smoking and next thing you know, I'm smoking all day, every day. Well, like, if you are doing that, then yeah, maybe going back to weed smoking is not it for you. But to me, it's more about practicing the communicating and agreeing and compromising and finding common ground, and both of you to be able to bring things up where the other person says, I'm not comfortable with that choice right now, and I'd really like you not to do that. And then the other person saying, okay, well, I'm not going to do it then.
Yeah, I think so often we really have conversations in our own head with the other and kind of make choices based on expectations or previous interactions. And so like, we've kind of given the disservice to the other by like not actually communicating and giving the chance to talk things out.
I mean, also, it's a lot of it is how much, saying you can't smoke tonight. If my wife said, please don't smoke tonight, I would respond to that emotionally better than you can't smoke tonight. No one wants to feel like they're married to their parent. I would rather do something for someone than be told I can't do something. So that's, in terms of like how you guys communicate with each other, that always just lands better. That being said, I do think you guys, as husband and wife, you should honor each other and, be wanting to, and then work on how you guys communicate. But clearly Emma doesn't feel safe. That should bother you, Seth, a lot. And there's no amount of I let my wife feel sexy is going to make up for the fact that she can't trust her husband, especially the fact that you guys have a kid together. And if I were you, I would allow that to bother me to the point where, you would want to make some meaningful changes. It's your job as a man and as a father and as a husband to make your child and wife feel safe. If you do anything else, like making her feel sexy is way on the bottom compared to making her feel safe. That's just my opinion. But
You seem to have kind of an emotional reaction to that.
It's just
Is it tough to hear?
it's a lot to say with a limited amount of information.
Yeah, of course. Like, there's no way that he can know our whole life. And like,
I mean, I guess my question is to both of you. I mean, like, I don't want to be speaking out of turn, but I'm just repeating how you don't feel safe. But like,
no, I mean, frankly, I think that you kind of just said what I had said in a different way. And I appreciate that you are a husband and father. And I don't know what it's like to be a husband and father. I'm a mother and a wife.
well, I mean, honestly, it's both of your job. I think men want to feel just as safe in their relationships. That's both of your guys' job.
Well, and I think that he would have told me by now if I ever make him feel unsafe. But like I do take my job, I do work full time and like I take my job very seriously, but I take being a mother and a wife also incredibly seriously. And like what I tell you all the time is like every decision that I make, whether it's, am I going to spend $20 on a salad for lunch or am I going to like, have unprotected sex? I'm thinking about how those decisions impact our family because I know that I am now part of something greater than just myself.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Totally.
Do you feel like you show her the same consideration?
Yes,
I think that you are trying to.
I am trying to.
I mean, listen, some things are hard to hear, but I listen, I just, in my opinion, like if I were you, I would want that to be a non-negotiable for me. And listen, we all make mistakes and we all we all fuck up from time to time. But I would just want to know that the people who I care most importantly can really count on me. And if she has to wonder in any type of regularity, whether you're being honest with her about some very consequential things, it's hard to feel safe in those situations.
Yeah, totally.
I don't want to be the enforcer. I don't want to say no. But when I feel like, when I have to wonder, are we going to be able to pay the mortgage? Are we, is my body going to be safe? When I have to ask myself these big questions, taking away from my me time or my being able to relax, that's when I start to feel like I have to enforce things. I don't like that. I don't like doing that. I don't want to. I want to be able to just know that you and I are living life together, respecting and loving each other, knowing that we are both, always doing what is best for the other in our family.
Totally.
And I think that you are now working toward that more than you have been in the past.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate these changes that you've made. And I, if in the future you want to smoke again, like that's definitely something that we can talk about. But
I've also said that like I don't really want to like fight to like smoke. Like it's not worth.
Yeah, and that's kind of my point about marijuana is that it's like I don't think we should make marijuana this like centerpiece of your guys' problem because to me it's not, right?
Yeah.
You guys, you can't even predict I don't know what Seth's going to want to do in the future. Neither do maybe Seth might not even know what he wants to do in the future. That in his gut, he's going to know that you are, he knows you well enough to know what you're going to be down for and what you might not be down for at this point. And if Seth wants to do something that he feels like you might not be down for, Emma, his default has been to, at times, to still go through with it and then consider the consequences later at best. that is what I'm hearing is your guys' problem. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's been money in the
Yeah,
past. It's been
absolutely.
sex in the past. Maybe it'll be money and sex in the future. But like, at the end of the day, that's what makes lying so scary and makes the people feel unsafe, is because you don't know what the next thing your partner is going to want to lie about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I've had to think about for the last 2 years, is like, because, you know, like I found out this news about the HPV one day when I was like walking into work, and it felt like a bomb was being dropped on my existence. Yeah, I mean, like, without being dramatic, it just feels like there have now been a couple of times where I found out extremely bad news really suddenly, and I was not prepared for it.
Yeah, I get the sense, Seth, that you struggle with some tough love.
What does that mean?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, just like, are you sensitive?
Do you think you're sensitive?
Yeah.
But I mean, which most of us are. But I think it's hard for you to hear some strange guy like me calling you out for, you know, not showing up as a husband and a father at certain aspects of your marriage. I mean,
I take a lot of issue with you calling me out for not showing up as a father. Like,
I would-
husband, sure.
Well, I mean, I think that it's go hand in hand. I mean, I don't, you know, I just, it's like, I don't know, spending $50,000, not telling anyone there is a through line there a little bit, whether you want to acknowledge it or not. And I guess my point is, I'm glad it bothers you, but you got to find the thing that holds you accountable in these moments where you don't want to answer to anyone.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, I think at the end of the day, or kind of the underlying issue here, is I think I have a lot of bitterness about not having the income or means to match the aspiration or lifestyle that I think we deserve.
Okay, that's fair.
You know, we live in Silicon Valley, and we are just surrounded by wealth in our face. We come from high income families, who had the benefit of 6-figure jobs with pensions and nannies and things that just will never really be afforded to us because we didn't go to Ivy League schools to become engineers.
Yeah.
And something that I'm kind of always trying to talk to Seth about is like, yeah, I did come from a lot of wealth, but I've realized that wealth does not equate to happiness. Yes, I would like a little bit more financial freedom. My father made a lot of money in his lifetime, and
There's a lot of,
you would not be able to see that now.
It makes some things easier, and it takes some stresses off your plate. That's literally it. That's all it really does. It's like you don't have to worry about getting a parking ticket sometimes in a world where you might otherwise worry about getting a parking ticket. Like, honestly.
And I get a parking ticket and I'm ready to like beat someone with my bare hands.
Yeah. And you know, a little extra cash goes a long way there. But to that point, Seth, $50,000 pays for a lot of parking tickets. You know,
trips, shoes, like all the things that you like to buy.
Well, yeah, it's because like I'm like, fuck it, like you only live once, and I want our family to live well. And
well, I mean, again, living well is just a matter of perspective. So, you know,
yeah. But like, I feel like we have a 4.5-year-old daughter, and I feel like no one in the world has a better life than me when our daughter is like, oh, I want a family hug, or let's sit and watch a movie together. Nick, all of this is to come for you, and it's amazing. And it's like, knowing how much she loves us and wants to spend time with us. I know it sounds cheesy, but like that's what means the most to me.
No, and you know, a couple weeks ago, I had a really good session with this therapist where he and I were kind of discussing some of this, and he was like, you know, when you're lying there having your last breath, are you really going to think about the house or the cars that you owned? Or are you going to like look at like your family standing around you in your room and thinking about the moments that you had with your kids?
Yeah.
It was like, think about that for a moment.
You know,
and it's like that, just like, I don't know why it took so long for that to like register with me. And I had that exact conversation with my college roommate's father, who is retired and living well. And I kind of had that same exact conversation with him. And he's like, yeah, I am so enjoying every moment of being a grandfather. And just that is what's worth living for. And that's what's worth, you know.
All these people who you think make so much more money or quote unquote like have more than us, like no one ever really knows what other people are dealing with.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like I don't necessarily want all of that money or responsibility. I want to have a happy life at home with you. And yeah, I want to travel and buy a nice bag once every couple of years, but like, you know, I don't need to constantly be jetting off somewhere to be happy with you. I just want to be like at the park with you and our kid, for as cheesy as it sounds.
Yes. And
And that's what
I wish that I could genuinely feel that more often. And I feel like I need to try more than I naturally should, if I'm being perfectly
yeah,
honest.
because it seems like something that you struggle with. And that's what over these last few years, like what I'm trying to get you to come back to is like, you know, no matter how much fun you have with someone in E&M or what shoes you buy or where we travel to or how much you smoke, like personally, I don't think that any of those things will bring you the gratification of just knowing that you have a wife and daughter who love you. I feel so freaking cheesy for everything that I'm saying, but I don't care because it's how I really
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. It makes a lot of sense. But to that point, I'm glad you took exception to me calling you out, whether you thought it was fair or not, but to, lean on those emotions in the sense that, like, listen, like a lot of what you're describing, Seth, is this like ego-driven insecurities or thoughts. What do they say? The comparison is the thief of joy. You're surrounded by people
1000%.
who have all this wealth. And so, like, to some degree, like, you kind of just have to get over yourself and your ego and like check yourself. Like everything you're feeling is we all feel it to some degree. I mean, I definitely haven't been any happier in my life since my financial situation has improved. I mean, I'm living my happiest moment in my life right now for a lot of things, but like the money's only caused more stress. There's the stress of like, keeping it going, et cetera, et cetera. So like, all those things that you're describing, kind of to your wife's point, like it really doesn't, honestly, that's never going to change. The part of you that is having a hard time controlling your ego to the point where it makes you act out destructively in ways that hurt your wife's feelings will be inside you if tomorrow you woke up and your financial earning increased tenfold. You would still be able to compare yourself to people and feel less than, because again, these are ego-driven thoughts. And to your wife's point, like showing up as a husband and as a father in most cases costs you nothing other than you prioritizing them over yourself. It's literally the whole joy of being a husband and as a father is you have the opportunity to wake up every day and get something out of thinking of other people before thinking of yourself. And in a way, that's like an incredible gift because, again, it costs you nothing other than selflessness. And it's not even that selfless because you are getting something out of it. Like, in most men, their love language is some kind of act of service, showing up and like lean into those emotions. But like, it should bother you when you don't show up. And, like every parent and every spouse always, don't question me as a father or as a husband. But like, sometimes we, don't show up as fathers and husbands and wives and moms. And sometimes, and I'm glad that really triggers you because at least you give a shit. So some parents don't care.
No, yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of shitty fathers, and I take I take a lot of pride in thinking that I do show up, and that I care a lot about my wife and my daughter, and lean hard into some pretty progressive values.
Yeah, but also, again, you also have to be willing to call yourself out when you don't show up. And
totally. I appreciate you holding that mirror to me.
And not always fight me back when I'm calling you out, because I would like to think that everything that I say to you is said with love and with just want, like, with my eye on this idea of just us having a good life together.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have to be fancy to be good and happy.
And some of your, what I'm hearing, some of your, these things that we're talking about, Seth, is, for lack of a better word, a bit petulant in nature. You're just kind of like, sometimes I just want to do what I want to do when I want to do it. And there's a very like childlike element to that. And that is very much the opposite of dad and husband energy. Like that is a sacrifice that adults, husbands, wives, make, and again, it's not a completely selfless act, because it's actually one of the most fulfilling feelings that any of us can feel, to feel like, to be called a good husband, to be called a good father, because a lot of people aren't. But like we don't, it's, so you have to be willing to recognize that in those moments where you want to have your cake and eat it too, you have to be willing to like check yourself, and you have to be willing to like communicate with your wife about things that that she might not be down for, and have to be willing to make that sacrifice. Because like more than anything, like being a good parent is leading by example. Right now, your child's only 4.5 years. She's not that, she's probably getting more and more observant. But at some point, she's going to be a 10, 11, 12-year-old and a 15-year-old girl, and she'll be very in tuned to your guys' relationship and the secrets that are kept or not kept, and the fights that you guys have and things like that. And she will be very aware. It will be very difficult to hide your wife finding out that you lied to her about spending $30,000 on something she knew nothing about. And like, those are the things that if I were you, I would be mindful for and want to, if for no other reason to check yourself, is because that's not the energy that you would want your daughter to observe.
Yeah, she's definitely more observant than ever, which is making us reevaluate kind of how we do a lot of things. And I think that that's a good point. She notices when we're gone. She notices when we're arguing. Like, she notices when we're yelling, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
And again, I'm no expert in non-monogamy, but like, I feel like maybe for the time being, I feel like that's something a couple should, like, if you're into that sort of thing, be something you guys do with each other when everything else is in unison, when everyone else is feeling connected. But if you don't have radical trust in a relationship, I just don't know how you can get the most out of that type of relationship. And I do feel like if it's practiced without a lot of trust and security, I feel like it can cause more damage than good.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Well, thank you so much, Nick, for your time. Long time listener.
Listen, you guys seem like you have a good thing going, despite all your flaws in the relationship but more than anything, you just need to want to show up.
Appreciate that.
We do really love each other. Well, thank you for you and your team and all of your time. And, hopefully, I think we'll continue to process all of this and talk about it. And do you want to say thank you?
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Well, thanks for your guys' time.
Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.
Enjoy your day. All right. Bye-bye. Hey guys, if you loved what you listened to, make sure you hit that subscribe button below. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.